record. It will take 1 minute, 1 second to start recording. Oh, we can go on. Go on. Start.
Okay, good evening then. We will only basically today solve many questions based on bone tumors, either benign or malignant and otherwise. Bone
Yes, sir.
tumor-like lesions, benign, malignant. Okay. So what I will do, I will start with some MCQs. Then I don't know if at least few of them have attended my previous class.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Most common site of metastasis in case of osteosarcoma. Brain, lung, liver, bladder. Can anybody
Lung,
answer?
sir.
Huh?
Lung, sir.
Yes. Invariably, all tumors in the body where hematogen is spread, primary filter is lung. So, most common tumors which spread through the hematogenous route, the first site of metastasis is lung. Okay, that same rule applies for even osteosarcoma. Osteosarcoma affects most commonly femur, tibia, humerus, vertebra.
Yes, sir.
What is the answer?
TVS, sir.
Lower end femur.
Sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
X-ray appearance of osteosarcoma are all except periosteal reaction, Quadman's triangle, soap bubble appearance, sun ray appearance.
Sir, soap appearance, sir.
Very good, very good. Where do you see this?
Sir, GCT and adamantium.
Most it is a hallmark sign of giant cell tumor.
Yes, sir.
Which of the following is a radio-resistant tumor?
Sir, osteosarcoma is the most.
Yes, very good. Osteosarcoma is a radio-resistant tumor. All of the following investigations are needed for diagnosis of osteosarcoma except MRI, bone marrow biopsy, bone scan, CT chest.
Sir, MRI femur.
MRI femur is essential. Bone scan to know the distant bone mets. CT scan to know the pulmonary. Bone marrow biopsy is only for lymphoma and other hematogenous malignancies. Management plan of osteosarcoma for lower end of femur must include
Sir,
radiotherapy.
second one.
Huh?
Second one.
Yes. Second one is chemotherapy, limb salvage, and chemotherapy. First chemotherapy is neoadjuvant chemotherapy, and later after surgery is adjuvant chemotherapy. Okay. Radiotherapy, certainly no. Amputation can be a choice, chemo can be a choice. Chemo plus radiotherapy, certainly no. Surgery alone, no. In osteosarcoma, predominant histological finding is
Osteoid forming tumor cells.
yes, very good.
Osteoid,
Osteoid tumor cells. All are true regarding Ewing sarcoma except
They're common in elderly.
it is in first to second decade.
Yes, sir.
Mimics osteomyelitis, yes. Onion peel appearance and CD marker positive originates from the marrow. Glycogen positive or per iodic acid shift. are seen in
Okay, once again, Papa. Okay. We're not still an answer. Yeah, uncle.
glycogen positive and PS positive cells are seen in Ewing sarcoma and PNET. PNET is peripheral neuroectodermal tumor. Here, please remember, I'll come to that again. Poor prognostic sign of for Ewing sarcoma.
Fever.
Sir, fever.
Yes, fever. Age generally it is less than 12. One important thing you want to remember is grades. It is graded low grade, high grade. Any sarcoma for that matter, high grade is poor prognosis, low grade is good prognosis. But in Ewing sarcoma, typical of Ewing sarcoma is grading of the sarcoma has no prognostic value. Please remember that. Grading is again CN ratio, amount of abnormal cells. Based on that, grading is done, and we are Ewing sarcoma. Grading does not give any indication towards prognosis. 7-year-old boy with history of trauma 2 months back now presents with fever and acute pain over the thigh. On femoral shaft, you see multiple laminated periosteal reactions. What is the next line of management? Okay, there is a 7-year-old boy, 2 months back trauma. Means the trauma is not important. Trauma is insignificant. It is only a afterthought. They are just saying that he must have fallen. But if it was because of the trauma, he will come with immediately either fracture, dislocation, or anything. So the trauma is not important when it is 2 months old. So he comes with fever and acute pain over the thigh. Okay, so it could be acute kind of osteomyelitis or some tumor. But what is the X-ray showing? Multiple laminated periosteal reaction. So it indicates what? Ewing's
Ewing
sarcoma. Okay, what you want to do now? CRP. CRP is no use. Okay, bone scan, MRI, core needle biopsy.
Core biopsy or MRI?
Core biopsy, sir.
Remember, yes, you both are right, MRI and core biopsy. But please remember, before doing any invasive procedure, you have to do MRI. Because if you do core needle biopsy, there will be hemorrhage and there will be change in the appearance of soft tissues in MRI. MRI has to be, all non-invasive measures has to be done before doing a core needle biopsy. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Core needle MRI also is for two reasons. One is to know the intramedullary extent. Say this is a femur. You see X-ray lamellated periosteal reaction. Blindly you put a needle. That is wrong. So you have to do MRI. Then you will know there is an extent up to here in the medullary canal. There can be extent outside the medullary canal. All this, so MRI in malignancy of the bone in either osteosarcoma or Ewing sarcoma for few important reasons. One is to know the intramedullary extent of the tumor, soft tissue extension, and third is what is the relation to important neurovascular structure. So all these have to be revealed or studied before doing core needle biopsy. And also MRI helps us to pick up what is the best site for needle biopsy or core needle biopsy. Because if you put blindly, you will pick up necrotic tissue and if you send for biopsy, you will get negative for histopathology. Understand? Please remember, MRI is a must. X-ray, MRI, and this technetium MDP bone scan is to know the other metastasis into the other bones. Chordoma commonly involves. Chordoma, one important thing is you should remember, it is a malignant bone tumor. It is not benign and it arises from notochordal elements. So notochordal elements means it must be very close to the spine only. So of all this,
Sacrum.
it is most common sacrum. About 70% of chordoma arise from the sacrum and 10 to 20% from the base of skull. Commonest site for chondrosarcoma. Commonest site for chondrosarcoma. Anybody take a guess?
Pelvis.
Yes, very good. Chondrosarcoma is in a later decade, 5th or 6th decade, especially in axial skeleton. You please remember, appendicular skeleton means extremities, the upper limb and lower limb. Axial skeleton involves the spine and the pelvis. Okay? Striated vertebra are seen in.
Hemangioma.
Very good. Very good. I will explain few things about hemangioma. Hemangiomas are most commonly seen in spine, and most of them are asymptomatic. And one important thing is they appear like this. Say, for example, I am drawing a picture of spine. So they will appear like long striations. This is also called as corduroy sign. If you take a lateral view of lumbar spine, this is how it looks like a jail or corduroy sign. And if you take a CT scan cross sections, it appears like dots, like this, polka dot. Okay, good. Most common primary bone tumor is
Multiple myeloma.
Multiple myeloma.
very good. Don't go for a osteosarcoma. It is a multiple myeloma. All are true in multiple myeloma except
Increased alkaline phosphatase.
Sir, bone marrow plasma cell is less than 5%.
very good. It is in older patients, bone marrow plasma cells or asymptomatic monoclonal gammopathy, you will get this much. But to call multiple myeloma, it has to be more than 10%. Hypercalcemia is known increased alkaline phosphatase because there will be pathological fractures. Okay. So bone marrow, when you do a bone marrow biopsy, if the plasma cells is less than 5%, you don't consider multiple myeloma. Most common primary cancer causing metastatic bone tumor.
Breast.
Sir, carcinoma of the breast.
CA breast. So in women it is breast, in men it is lung. Okay, and then comes your kidney, irrespective of either of the sex.
Sir,
Most
prostate.
common bone tumor. Yes, in male it is prostate.
Yes, sir.
Next comes your lungs. Most common bone tumor.
Metastasis, sir.
Yes, very good. because I have not mentioned as primary. Metastasis is not found in
Fibula.
Fibula, sir.
fibula, because one thing you please remember, secondaries in the bone never or rarely below the knee and rarely below the elbow. Secondaries most common are proximal to the elbow and proximal to the knee. Please remember that. That's why fibula is your right answer. 60-year-old male has bone pain, vertebral collapse, fracture pelvis. The probable diagnosis is
Multiple myeloma.
yes, it could be multiple myeloma or it could be secondaries.
Secondary.
Because he is beyond 60, first you consider secondaries.
Multiple
If the
myeloma is
secondary-
rarely,
yes,
sir. Multiple myeloma beyond 60 is rare, sir.
correct. But beyond 60, secondaries are more common than multiple myeloma.
Yes, sir.
Secondaries can originate from any primary bone tumor. Multiple myeloma in general may not be as that common. Okay, if there is a choice in secondaries, it is secondaries before multiple myeloma. Okay, some I wanted to, 1 minute. Okay. Okay, I want to show some x-rays where you are generally confused about the periosteal reaction, the type of periosteal reaction. Okay, the type of periosteal reaction you can see very well. This picture, you please remember, nowadays they are giving radiographs and asking questions. Unlike before, there are always pictorial representation also. So periosteal reaction can be like this: solid, onion peel, sunburst, Codman's triangle. Depending upon this, towards this it is more malignant. Solid, you remember, there is complete continuity from the cortex to the new bone. Okay, this is seen in osteoid osteoma. Osteoma. Okay, there is a solid periosteal reaction. You do not know which is abnormal, which is normal. You cannot differentiate. And look at the onion peel. Onion peel means you can see here. There is layers like a onion. Why onion peel kind of periosteal reaction happens is the tumor grows intermittently. In Ewing sarcoma, which is a hallmark of onion peel periosteal reaction, it doesn't grow continuously. It grows fast, necrosis, then again it grows. So whenever it grows and lifts the periosteum, you will get the periosteal reaction. When it is necrosed and regressed for a while, there is no reaction. So if it grows intermittently, that's why you get onion peel appearance. I don't know if you should be able to appreciate here. Look at the bone here. You see the radio opaque and alternate radio opaque and radiolucent line along the shaft. And sunburst appearance. Sunburst appearance is when tumor grows through the Haversian canals under the periosteum and lifts the periosteum. You get sunburst appearance like this. Sunburst or hair on end appearance. Codman's triangle is a hallmark of osteosarcoma. Hello. Can anybody tell me what it is?
The osteosarcoma.
Huh?
Sir, osteosarcoma.
left hand side, the left hand side. The X-ray picture. Most common benign bone tumor. What is most common benign bone tumor?
Sir,
Yes. Huh?
osteochondroma.
Very good. Also called as exostosis. Okay. See, please remember certain things about osteochondroma. It is the most common benign tumor. Second is it is growing away from the growth plate. It is more commonly around the knee, and it stops growing once the child stops growing or child attains maturity. Okay, there are certain important things about this. And look at the type of the growth. It is the outgrowth. The cortex merges with the stalk of the tumor, and there can be two types. This is a pedunculated type. There can be something called as a sessile type. Pedunculated means there is a stalk. Okay, and more importantly, it is most common benign bone tumor, and it is covered by a cartilaginous cap, which you cannot see on the X-ray, and that is the reason whenever you palpate, if you are coming across with a case of a benign bone tumor, you will see a huge swelling, but on X-ray you will see a very small swelling. That is because half or more than half of the cartilage is of the tumor is cartilaginous, which is not seen on X-ray. So the tumor is smaller on X-ray as compared to what you feel clinically. Okay, there can be two types, sessile and pedunculated, and most common complication is pain, and most common cause for the pain is secondary bursitis, and the second most common cause for the pain is it can become malignant. It can degenerate into malignant. And what is the treatment of osteochondroma? You have to remove that with the periosteum. With the periosteum, you have to remove with the periosteum so that there will be less chance of recurrence. Okay, so it is more common in the growing end. For that, there is a simple picture you should remember. This is the wrist, this is the knee. These are the growing ends. Universal flexion, this diagram you should please remember. This is arm, this is the universal flexion position. Around the knee is a growing end. Around the wrist is a wrist and shoulder are growing end. Hip and elbow are non-growing ends. So what is the importance of growing end is there is a delay, the physis fuses late 2 years later than the non-growing end, and these contribute more for the length of the limb. One more important thing I want to mention is depending upon the thickness of the cartilage. Depending upon the thickness of the cartilage, what is the treatment is, you have to, as I said, you have to excise. But if it is around for the fibula, you can remove the entire bone because it is a dispensable bone. And if the thickness of the cartilage after you excise, you have to measure the thickness by putting a needle. If it goes more than 1 centimeter, you should suspect malignancy. something about whenever you are given an X-ray of a bone tumor, certain things you have to focus. What is the lesion doing to the bone? Where is the lesion situated in the bone? And what is the age of the patient? And whether it is only in solitary or multiple. All these things you have to notice. So for example, there is an X-ray here. What is it? It is a well-defined sclerotic border. Please look at this. It is a very well-defined sclerotic border. It means what? It means the tumor is growing very, very slowly. There is a time for the bone to react. So what is the sharp zone of transition means? Look at the bone here and look at the bone here. There is a very well demarcated and narrow zone of transition. You can see it is normal bone suddenly becomes abnormal. Suddenly in one fine line there is a abnormal. So zone of transition is narrow. And what is the size of the lesion? Whether they are multiple. And one more important thing is whether it is situated in the metaphysis or epiphysis or diaphysis. And what is the lack of destruction of the cortex? Lack of extension into the soft tissue. You see this is all soft tissue. You can see this. In X-ray you also have to focus on other than bone in the soft tissue also. So these signs are the hallmark of benign bone tumor. Okay, and where is it situated? Sometimes it is situated centrally, sometimes it is situated eccentric. So all these things you have to take into consideration, then you will be able to diagnose the type of bone tumor. One more important slide, what you have to remember is, when you see lytic lesion, as I said before, any lytic lesion like this. So what are the possible diagnoses? Lytic lesion you see in a bone, what are the possible tumors? So as I explained here, the characteristic looks like it is a benign bone tumor. So what are the possibilities? Fog machines, even in most of the textbook it is there, but there are plenty of mnemonics. This I found is very, very easy to remember. Fibrous dysplasia, osteoblastoma, giant cell tumor. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Metastasis, aneurysmal cyst, chondroblastoma, hyperparathyroidism, infection, non-ossifying fibroma, eosinophilic granuloma, enchondroma, and solitary bone cyst. So these are the things what you come into your mind if you see a lytic bone lesion. So depending upon the location, where they are located, epiphyseal, metaphyseal, or diaphyseal. So if it is epiphyseal, most common is GCT, and then comes your chondroblastoma. There's one picture in most of the textbook. It is very, very confusing, but you try and restrict yourself to remember certain most common things. Okay, so epiphyseal, giant cell tumor, and chondroblastoma. Giant cell tumor can be epiphyseal or epiphyseometaphyseal. Remember this because it grows in a adult spine where the physis has already fused. It starts in the metaphysis, but it grows till the epiphysis. So technically speaking, even though if it appears just below the joint, it is epiphyseal, it is epiphyseometaphyseal. Whenever you are given choices, confusing options, if there is no epiphyseometaphyseal, it is epiphyseal. Otherwise, it is epiphyseometaphyseal. Chondroblastoma is most of the times is in immature skeleton. In immature skeleton, it comes in a epiphysis. Metaphyseal.
Osteosarcoma.
Simple bone cyst, SOFA. Simple bone cyst, osteosarcoma, fibrous dysplasia, and aneurysmal bone. I think it is a good idea to please remember these mnemonics. Okay, it will be handy in answering certain most common MCQs based on orthopedic oncology. Okay, diaphyseal it is male, metaphyseal it is SOFA, epiphyseal is GC, that is GCT and chondroblastoma. If you want, you can make a note of this or take a screenshot. Okay, metaphyseal is simple bone cyst, osteosarcoma, fibrous dysplasia, aneurysmal bone cyst. Diaphyseal, multiple myeloma, Ewing sarcoma is more common, osteoid osteoma, adamantinoma, and leukemia. Please remember these mnemonics. I find it very, very useful. I have seen many people using this mnemonic. Okay. Can anybody diagnose what is this? What do you see here? There is an adult pelvis. What do you see here? Look at the bones. Look at the bones. These bones are very, very radiolucent, means it is elderly population. Look at these lesions all over. Multiple punched out. Look at this. Multiple punched out lesions. Where do you see that?
Multiple myeloma.
Very good. So one more important thing I want to highlight is whenever you see a plain radiograph of a bone tumor, what you see first? Whether there is a lytic lesion, solitary lesion with a characteristic appearance. So characteristic lesion or lytic lesion. Lytic lesion, again, as I said, there was a previous X-ray of lower end tibia. So whether there is a periosteal reaction or no. If there is no periosteal reaction, it is most commonly benign tumor. Most commonly, not every time. Okay. If there is a periosteal reaction, look for CT and MRI for osteosarcoma, Ewing sarcoma, and osteomyelitis. Okay, we'll not go into this. Generally benign, solitary lesion with a characteristic appearance, generally benign, sharply marginated radiolucent lesion, eccentric lytic lesion, and metaphyseal expansion. This comes into all those fibrous dysplasia, non-ossifying fibroma, and all these non-neoplastic lesions. So you have to take thin CT slides to diagnose osteochondroma, osteoma, osteoid osteoma, osteofibroma, blastoma, and fibroma. Can anybody identify this picture? Fibrous dysplasia. What is this appearance called as?
Ground glass.
This is ground glass. What you see here is ground glass.
Yes, sir.
How does the femur look like? Shepherd crook.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. What is this? Anybody? Then only you'll remember. Otherwise, you'll not remember by just reading it.
Giant cell tumor, sir.
Very good. So, what are the characteristics here?
Sir, egg cell cracking.
Eggshell crackling is a clinical finding. It is not a radiological finding. Eggshell crackling is what? If you press it, it crackles like a eggshell. So it is on clinical examination. It is not on radiological examination. What is hallmark in radiological examination? Soap bubble appearance,
bubble.
isn't it? Yeah. See, lytic lesion in distal end of radius. Most commonly it is GCT unless proved otherwise. Unless proved otherwise. Okay. So you can see what are the things you see here. It is eccentrically situated. Okay. It is expansile. See the radius, it has expanded. There are soap bubble appearance. It is situated in epiphyseal-metaphyseal junction. It has not breached the joint. It doesn't breach the joint because of strong subchondral bone. Okay. So I'll explain the management also here so that you will remember easily. So what is the management of giant cell tumor?
Extended curative.
Very good. So it is curettage. What is curettage? You make a window here. Huh?
Dry mopping.
No. It is not dry mop. You make a window here. Imagine it is in 3D. You take a curette and remove everything. Okay? You clear that. That is curettage. But here in GCT, it is extended curettage. Extended curettage. So what is extended curettage? See, whatever you do, you take a scoop or a curette and curette the bone like a what you remove from the coconut shell. Okay, coconut shell, you remove the coconut, no, like that you curette. But still there, whenever you eat tender coconut, you remember take a spoon and curette it. But there is all possibility that you will remain bits and pieces here and there. So the curettage is not sufficient by itself.
Phenol use.
Because, yes,
Chemical
use
phenols.
phenol, yes, hydrogen peroxide, use PMMA. You remember this. PMMA is nothing but bone cement. You can remember PMMA long form, polymethyl methacrylate. If we can remember, it will be great. PMMA is nothing but bone cement. These are the adjuvants you apply to the inside surface of the cavity of the giant cell tumor. So what it does, suppose you curette a bone here, there can be some pieces here and there. So if you put these chemicals, it can kill the remaining tumor cells. These two are toxic to the tumor cells. How does the bone cement work? How does the bone cement work is, bone cement generates heat. It causes thermal injury. It causes thermal injury to the remaining pieces or the tumor cells. It increases the margin of curettage. So there are trabeculae, you have to remove that with a burr. Okay, you please understand this. It is extended curettage. So what you do, you do the extended curettage. You leave so much hollow gap. So what can happen? What can happen? Such a hollow bone, what can happen? It can fracture, isn't it? It can fracture. So you have to do bone grafting, extended curettage and bone grafting. Okay. So nowadays what they are doing, extended curettage and bone grafting or bone cementing. You please remember this. This appears in most of the exams, in entrance exams. So what you do, bone extended, the most common outcome or the problem with giant cell tumor is high recurrence. There is a very high chance of recurrence. any kind of treatment you do, there is a high chance of recurrence. So extended curettage and bone grafting, the recurrence is up to 40%. Curettage and bone cementing, the recurrence rate is less than 10%. Okay. Bone cement is a non-biological entity. You will have to sometime you have to remove this and put a bone graft so that bone graft incorporates. So the best choice is extended curettage and bone cement to reduce the recurrence. So in all GCT you can do extended curettage and bone graft? No. Suppose there was a GCT here. Suppose there is a GCT here.
Excision.
What you will do?
Excision.
You can excise. Similarly, if there is a GCT in upper end of fibula, you can excise. GCT in ribs, you can excise. But these bones are not so. You cannot excise. You do all this extended curettage and bone grafting if it is in early stage. It has not spread into the soft tissue. Okay. What if it has already spread into the soft tissue? What you do is you have to excise this and do what? You have to reconstruct, isn't it?
Replacement.
You have to replace. Replace by what? Replace by what?
Bone graft. Vascularized bone graft.
Vascularized bone graft. Very good. Which part? Where you take it from?
Sir, lower end of the radius, where upper end of the fibula.
Now you excise this lower end of radius. You have to replace it with a vascularized fibular graft. So where do you take it from?
Upper end of the fibula.
Upper end of fibula.
Upper end of the fibula. Very good. Even the upper end of fibula looks very, very similar. Okay. So upper end of fibula, if you replace this and put the upper end of fibula here, you put a plate and reconstruct. Okay. So extended curettage if possible. Otherwise, you excise the bone. If it is already late, you remove the entire bone and reconstruct. If that is still not possible, or if it recurs, second recurrence, you can again repeat the procedure. But if it becomes malignant, you have to do amputation. Okay. There are various choices of treatment of giant cell tumor. So again, in giant cell tumor, I wanted to mention what is the histopathology. Histopathology is giant cells are there with multiple 30-40 nucleus. Giant cells are there with interspersed with striated mononuclear cells. So the tumor cell is not giant cell. Tumor cell is mononuclear, striated or stromal cells. Giant cells are seen in many other conditions, but the nuclei of the giant cell and the stromal cell are same. And the malignant portion of giant cell is nuclear stromal cells, not the giant cells. Giant cells can be seen in again in tuberculosis, aneurysmal bone cyst. It can be seen in many other tumor-like lesions. But in giant cell tumor, the malignant portion is stromal cells and the nuclei are similar. Even the giant cells have 30-40 nuclei. Am I clear about the giant cells? Giant cell tumor?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Situated in epiphysis and expansile. Look at this. This is again one more picture of giant cell tumor. Giant cell is again, I forgot to mention, most commonly around the knee, lower end of the femur, upper end of tibia, and then comes your radius. Most commonly in lower end of femur. One more important management I forgot to mention is, if it is, you want to excise this, but joint is not necessary for us. So you can do arthrodesis. You can fix the joint, especially in knee. Here in the wrist, our movement is essential. In the knee, if possible, instead of doing amputation, you can do fusion or you can do knee replacement. You got all the choices of management of giant cell tumor. Should I need to elaborate again?
No, sir.
Okay, good. So this one more radiograph I want to mention. Look at this radiograph. How do you read the radiograph? It is a child. What is the age of the here? Child. This is an immature skeleton.
Sir, image.
What is the age of the child?
Sir.
The lower end radius has appeared. What year? More than 1 year. 1, 5, 5, 10. I think that will be a separate class. I will lead later. So this is basic today. For as of now, let us not assess the age. This is a child, immature skeleton. You see a lytic lesion in the metaphysis, uniformly radiolucent. It is expanded. The zone of transition is narrow. You can see the end also here. You can see the end here. So this is unicameral bone cyst.
Yes, sir.
Unicameral bone cyst is most commonly metaphyseal, but in older children it comes closer to the diaphysis. And one more hallmark of simple bone cyst is fallen fragment sign. Has anybody read this? Fallen fragment sign or trapdoor sign. I'll just explain this. There is a small portion of the cortex gets fractured, and this is filled with the serous fluid. Serous fluid, yellow colored fluid. In aneurysmal bone cyst, it is altered blood or hematogenous. It is blood-filled cavity in aneurysmal bone cyst. In simple bone cyst, it is serous or yellow-colored fluid. And in aneurysmal bone cyst, you see there is trabeculae here. Trabeculae like this. Simple bone cyst is most common and it is asymptomatic. Asymptomatic. When it becomes symptomatic, the child comes with pain is whenever there is a fracture. Okay, what is the treatment of simple bone cyst? If it is asymptomatic, leave alone, it will heal by itself. Or you aspirate the fluid and give dipomedrol or methylprednisolone. You remember this, it is very essential. You aspirate the fluid and give injection for the healing of the bone cyst. And one more interesting thing about simple bone cyst or unicameral means what? Unicameral means single cavity. Single cavity. So one more interesting thing about unicameral bone cyst, if there is a pathological fracture, the cyst disappears. With the fracture healing, the entire cyst disappears. Okay. GCT. Okay, I'll some more to avoid the monotony. Some more MCQs will take. GCT is quickly situation.
Sir,
Where is it situated? Huh?
Epiphyseal, metaphyseal, sir.
Very good. Solitary bone cyst is more common, most common. It is in upper end of humerus. Which of the following is not a type of geographical lesion? I'll explain about the type of bone destruction in a minute. But before that, one or two questions. Which of the following is not a geographical lesion? I don't know whether you have
Ewing
understood the
sarcoma,
question.
sir.
Yes?
Ewing sarcoma.
Come again?
It's a
Very good.
formative lesion.
It
sir.
is permeative lesion. Very good. The GCT, fibrous display of Brodus abscess, is a geographical lesion. Yeah, this is what I wanted to explain a few. geographical or a map. You remember geography in the form of map. It is very well defined geographic destruction. It is slowly destroying. Look at this. Look at this. You don't know if you unskilled or amateur looks at this X-ray, he will think it is normal because they generally pick up only fractures. Okay, look at this. You are not able to make out which is normal, which is abnormal. Permeative means what? The common English term permeate means it gets ingrained into the normal. You are not able to differentiate between abnormal and normal. This is permeative type of bone destruction. Look at this. Moth-eaten means punched out lesions. Look at this here. Of course, there is a pathological fracture. Don't look into this. You see the small punched out lesion. These are the 3 punched out or moth-eaten. These are the 3 types of bone destruction you see on X-ray in bone tumors. Of course, this indicates indirectly indicates the extent of malignancy. Benign lesions show geographic destruction. One more important thing is that I'll come to that. Again, in geographic destruction, you see 3 types. Where you see a thick sclerosis, thin line of sclerosis, and you hardly see anything. So thick sclerosis indicates it is a slow growing and bone has enough time to react. So geographic lesion invariably means it's a benign tumor, and the activity or the aggression helps. Aggression we can pick up looking at the type of the margin you get. Example of geographical destruction pattern is non-ossifying fibroma. This is one example, but a list of so many things I have given. The lytic lesion, multiple myeloma, moth-eaten appearance, and leukemia is a permeative kind of destruction. Which of the following is wrongly matched? Osteosarcoma, sundry appearance. Is it right or wrong?
Right, sir. Second one,
Very good.
chondroblastoma is
Good.
not a scope.
Second one.
Very good. Yes, very good. And there is one more radiographical sign I want to explain. Winking owl sign.
Second, that is
It is-
metastasis.
Metastasis of the spine. Look at this. Winking owl. These 2 are pedicles. These look like eyes of the owl.
Medical destroyed, sir.
And this one is destroyed. Winking owl sign is hallmark of secondaries in the spine. For
Like
this
that.
I had this picture. Okay. All of the following tumors are benign except no brainer. Quickly. Quick.
Sir, enchondroma,
They are benign. Enchondroma is benign.
chordoma, sir.
Yes, chordoma is malignant. I started in the beginning only, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes.
What is multiple enchondromatosis called as? What is that syndrome? Or Olier's disease. Okay, you might get it or you might not get it. Radio-resistant bone tumor, very easy.
Radio-resistant osteosarcoma, sir.
And chondrosarcoma.
Chondrosarcoma, yes.
Okay. All of the following of SBC is simple bone cyst. Most common in adults. Commonest site is upper end of humerus. Cortex is thin. cause pathological fracture, no risk of recurrence after removal. Which one?
Sir, most common in adults.
Yes, it is false. Factors indicating malignant degeneration in osteochondroma. I was mentioning osteochondroma. Please remember, most common benign tumor, also called as exostosis.
Yes, sir.
So, what are the factors indicating it is a benign tumor? There can be a chance of malignancy of less than 1%. Long-standing osteochondroma can become malignant. So, how will you know whether it has become malignant?
Sir, pain.
Increase in
Weight loss size.
If there is pain, sir.
pain, weight loss, thickness of the cartilage.
Yes, sir.
Which one?
Pain, sir.
See, pain, as I said, it can be pain because of the bursitis. If there is one on the side of the knee, always the patient is sitting cross-legged, he will develop a bursa. It can also cause the pain. Most common cause for the pain in osteochondroma is bursitis. Please remember, they will ask. So pain need not be one of these. Size can go on increasing till the child achieves the maturity. Weight loss is not connected. So what is remaining? Thickness of the cartilage more than 10 millimeters. All the statements of exostosis are true except quick. I have explained now, isn't it? It grows at the growing end.
So growth continues after skeletal maturity.
After maturity. Wrong, isn't it? Which
Before,
of the following is true? Yeah, anything?
before skeletal maturity.
Yeah. It stops with the growth stops with the skeletal maturity. Okay. Which of the following is true regarding osteoid osteoma? Femur and tibia are common nest site. Radiological appearance, radiolucent lesions surrounded by dense bone, present with severe pain relieved by the aspirin.
Also,
Sir, it
Very
also.
good. All of the above.
all of
I will
them.
tell something. Yes, I will tell something about osteoid osteoma. See, in a femur, the patient osteoid osteoma. You remember one thing: they never come with any bone swelling. They just come with the pain in the thigh. More commonly, it is situated in the thigh. Unlike osteochondroma or osteosarcoma, anything for that matter, there will be no swelling at all in osteoid osteoma. They just come with severe pain, more in the night, relieved by the aspirin. On X-ray, you will see like this.
Periphery is dark. Sir.
You will see like this. You will see a thick cortex. See, this cortex is thickened. This is because of excessive periosteal reaction. And this is not the osteoid osteoma. It is only a periosteal reaction. What is osteoid osteoma is the nidus situated here. It is a nidus situated. I will show one cross section. I was not able to find out a radiograph. See, there will be a small nidus. This I am showing a CT scan picture taken in axial sections. So you will see something like this. You will see something like this. A small radiolucent lesion, and there will be a periosteal reaction. This is the nidus. Nidus is radiolucent. Radius is periosteal thickening. You remember this. So what is the treatment? You have to excise this. You have to excise this. So how you do? You will not know. I'll remove what you see in X-ray is a thick bone. Suddenly you will remove this much and come out. Or you will leave the nidus. If you leave the nidus, there is every likely chance that patient will not be all right and there is a recurrence. So how you will do? You will go on removing the bone like this, slivers. Then you will see in the cavity a nidus which is red in color, and you remove that or curate it out. Nowadays they are not doing this much of bone excision because it can cause pathological fracture. Now they are doing radio frequency ablation. Please remember that we are doing radio frequency ablation. Regarding GCT, all are true except quick.
It
You
is
can,
91.
huh?
Fourth one.
Third one, sir.
Yes. Fourth one. See, these are conflicting each other. Commonly presents 20 to 40, correct. Benign tumor, this is most commonly the only benign tumor to have a lung mets. About 5% of GCT with benign lesions can have lung mets. Remember this. So matrix consists of proliferating mononuclear cells or giant cell proliferation. As I said, the cancer part or a malignant part of the GCT is proliferating mononuclear cells, not the giant cells. Giant cells are not malignant here. The mononuclear cells in the stroma are malignant. So osteoclastoma is treated with all except quick. I have explained already. Quick.
Sure.
Chemotherapy.
Very good. Chemotherapy has no role. Which of the following is false? Chemotherapy is a mainstay.
Chemotherapy.
Okay. With that, I come to end to the today's presentation. So, of course, there are a lot of things to be covered about osteosarcoma and Ewing sarcoma. Most commonly, they ask questions on osteosarcoma and Ewing sarcoma. And at the end of the class, you also please make a note or give feedback on the WhatsApp group what Dr. Umesh has created. And before starting next class, I will touch upon the things which have been not highlighted, or if there is a confusion, we'll clarify that. That doubt clearing session we'll have for 10 minutes in the next class, and then we'll proceed with the next topic.
We think, sir, we want to one more classes about bone tumor, sir.
You want one more class about the bone tumor? Okay. Especially in the form of the MCQs or more kind of a text?
MCQs.
That if like this included all means MCQ and theory.
Okay. Right. Okay. I'll try and formulate one more. No problem. Let there be no MCQs. Basically, why I include in between is that can initiate the discussion. Even every option, if it can be discussed, we will be able to remember a lot of things. Okay. So you want one more class on bone tumors? Do all agree? If there's anyone who wants to disagree or have a different opinion. Okay, boys, I will certainly consider your request and prepare one more presentation in the next class. We will limit only for the bone tumors in the next class. which has not been covered here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Anything else?
Sir, what
Tell me.
sarcoma is common in first decade or second decade, sir?
Which one?
Ewing sarcoma, sir.
First decade. First decade is what? 1 to 10, isn't it?
Question, sir. Is it second decade is more common in than first decade, but Ewing sarcoma is more seen in first decade.
First decade. Ewing sarcoma is in younger population. Adolescent population is second decade is osteosarcoma.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rosangde.
Thank you, Umesh.
The thing, I'll stop recording, I believe. Huh?
Okay.